Hello and welcome to Magic Gathering Strat. This is Will. I am joined today with fellow site contributors Dan and Chris. And today we're going to be doing something a little different for you guys. We've talked it over, and we're going to start a Pauper podcast. It's kind of a more spike-oriented, higher level competitive podcast to kind of get you guys into the groove of playing Magic at a Pauper at a higher competitive level and things like that. So let me toss it over to my co-host here. Dan, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are, what you contribute to the site, and your experience with Magic.
Hi guys, I'm Dan, and I'm very excited that we are actually doing this. That's so cool. I have played Magic since forever. I was around back when Revised was out. I was at one point ranked number 13 in the world, so I have been pretty spiky. But that was a long time ago, and now I'm trying to get back to those levels. And to that end, I started a YouTube channel called Magic Gathering Strat in January. The purpose was then just to get feedback on my play and sort of improve it. But then I met Will, and it all escalated, and here we are.
Yeah, so, I was just sitting in my car one day, kind of browsing around YouTube after I just gotten back into Magic for the third time, stumbled upon your videos, and I was really into Pauper, so I really liked what you had to say. Sent out a couple, tested the waters with some comments on the videos, sent out a message, and then we ultimately decided to, start the site, and then kind of grew from there. And then eventually, we got, more contributors, more writers, and then eventually we met with Chris. And why don't you, take it over, Chris? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I played Magic back in Tempest and Urza's Block Saga. I took a break from there and came back March of 2012, right after Dark Ascension was released. Played some Standard, and then decided that was too much money and moved on over into Pauper, where I play pretty competitively with Delver, and done a walkthrough with Dan before, and pretty cool to be doing this podcast now.
Yeah, it's great to have you guys on here. There's a couple other Pauper based podcasts out there on the internet and available through MTGO, like Pauper the People, Pauper's Cage. But really the focus of ours is to kind of go on to that next level. Not to be so casual about it, but to really escalate each of people who might be new to Pauper or have played maybe semi-competitive, to take them to that next level and make it to be a more competitive format for them, and kind of teach them the new ways to look at cards, new ways to look at the metagame, and things like that. So with that, I'll do my quick little intro. My name is Will. I've been playing Pauper. I've been playing Pauper since Onslaught, but I've been playing Magic since 4th edition. That's when I jumped in. I kind of bounced in and out for a long time, but now ever since I think Innistrad is when I came back for this current session, and mostly an aggro player. Stompy was my favorite deck, but once I saw the blue-black trinket control deck, that became my new favorite, and I kind of took over from there. So, with that, why don't we just kind of, touch into, for those that may not know, what Pauper is, who plays it, and, how a player would get started into Pauper. So, Dan, how did you ever, when did you hear about the Pauper format, and how long have you been playing that for?
Actually, I think we need to think about, if we go deep into history, Pauper, the idea to play just with commons is much older than the Pauper format. I think it is a natural idea, and I was at an international commons tournament on the island of Åland in the Baltic Sea in '96.
Wow.
Where we played only commons. But what we know as Pauper today is mostly the format on Magic Online. That was a great effort by the player community to get a commons-only format to be sanctioned by Wizards. which it isn't really, but at least it's supported on Magic Online.
Yeah, and that was really great of Wizards to kind of listen to the community on that, and not only just give us like the filter for that on Magic Online, but to actually offer us like competitive play in daily events and things like that. So that's a big thumbs up on Wizards' part.
Absolutely, I think it's a very natural stepping stone for them to bring people onto Magic Online and bring people into buying more and more cards. So it works both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So Chris, why don't you since you're the real competitive player for us on this podcast, why don't you talk to us about a little bit of kind of who play, like what kind of players do you see in the competitive Pauper arenas?
So you see a lot of players, both in the daily events. You see actual competitive grinders. You see people like myself, Deluxekoff, Kret UGRV, but you also see a whole bunch of people playing rogue decks because it's only 6 tickets to play a rogue deck that you've been testing and you liked. Recent daily event, I came up against a mono green post in an actual daily event, and he was 1-0 whenever I encountered him. So you do see all kinds of people. You see all kinds of people playing rogue decks, and if you look them up, about half the people I look up on MTGO stats don't even have any posted listings, and that could be because people are switching accounts.
Yep.
But it just lets you know that these people aren't necessarily playing extremely competitively, but then you see a whole bunch of people who have posted a lot of results. So it's both for competitors and casual players alike.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I pop into a daily event from now to now, and you only see a couple like common names from here to there, but usually some of these events fire with 100 plus players, and don't only have maybe 3 to 4 kind of be the trying the grinders of MTGO. That's really like healthy kind of for the format, because now we don't have like a certain group of players that just completely dominate these daily events and then kind of turn away all the the less competitive players. So it's a little bit more welcoming to everyone, but it also has that appeal to the grinders that want to play 3 or 4 daily events a day, and this gives them that outlet to kind of do that.
Yeah, and you also get to play with like some of the most powerful cards that Magic's ever printed. Hydroblast, Pyroblast, Gush, Snap, all those types of things that are extremely powerful cards. It's got a lot of appeal to older players who want to play with extremely powerful cards, even if it is an all commons format.
Yeah, exactly. If a player wants to kind of like, they have kind of 2 choices if they want to play the older styles of Magic, and that's Pauper and Legacy, and price point considered, they're not even close to the same. I mean, sure, Legacy has cards that powerful cards that Pauper will just never see, like Batter Skull and Jace the Mind Sculptor and stuff like that. But compared a $1,000 deck to a $50 to $60 deck, it's kind of a no-brainer for most of these players.
You can pretty much buy all of Pauper for 1 Legacy deck.
Oh, definitely. So that's now that we kind of like touched into like the price point of it, like the best way to get started is to kind of just Google around, check out our website. We have the Pauper Gauntlet going on right now from Dan. We have our Pauper tier listings that have links to a bunch of our decks that we have posted up. So just go in there, find a deck that you like, and kind of build it, and then bring it into the just for fun or tournament practice room, test it out, see if you like the deck, and it's pretty much a minimal investment. So like one of the better decks right now in the metagame is the Nivik Cyclops deck, and that's running no more than like 15 ticks. So it's an excellent way for people to kind of jump into the format and get a taste for real competitive play.
Yeah, and what's cool about these cheap decks in the format is that like decks like Stompy, they're going to be around forever. You can spend that $25 to build a Stompy deck, and Stompy deck is going to be good until they ban cards. So it's cheap to get into, and your investment is going to last you a lifetime.
Exactly, and that's a really good thing. You don't have to worry about cards rotating out or too many cards getting banned. I mean, in the however long history that Wizards has been monitoring Pauper, they've only banned really 5 cards. Now we speculate a lot on our website for cards that will and won't get banned in the future, but typically, even if like a deck gets banned, unless it's really like Storm that just got you know nerfed into oblivion, the deck is still viable even if you lose 1 or 2 cards.
And mentioning Stompy, I don't think nobody ever speculated on any card in Stompy getting banned,
Yeah, I
so
don't think
it's
so.
a safe investment.
Yeah, I don't see like Queer and Rager maybe but it's not even close to like some of like the other cards in the format like the Cloud Post and Cloud of Fairies and Snap that could be could eventually one day see the ban hammer.
To be clear, you can find our website at mtgostrat.com.
Yes, correct. So why don't we just now that we've kind of touched into the format that we'll be talking about, we'll talk about the real focus of the podcast, and that's turning your average everyday player into a competitive player, and also kind of sprinkling in just rogue decks and high level competitive play. So why don't one of you guys pick up like what is like the meta game for Pauper? What does it look like, and how consistent is it?
I hear there's a blue deck that is quite good. Do you know anything of this, Chris?
Yeah, the Delver is one of those decks. There's also a Fissure deck. Both of those are pretty solid targets right now. But anyway, when you're talking about Pauper, you're figuring about 10 decks roughly are competitive at any given point in time. And as the metagame rotates and people bring in certain types of decks, a lot of your tier 2 decks suddenly become super playable. So one of the things that I'm running into right now in daily events is Mono Black Controls making a comeback, which makes my life as a Delver player hell.
Yeah.
So the metagame does shift pretty frequently, and if you see any one deck to get too popular, the metagame will shift again to fight that deck.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's one of the great things about of Pauper is our constantly shifting metagame. Is that, and another thing is like the price point of the deck. So that kind of like the price point of the decks allows players to have 4 to 5 main decks that they like to play. So as the metagame kind of shifts around, they can kind of be prepared for that and take one of their toolbox of decks into the meta and have a better advantage. And that's one of the things that we're definitely going to be going over is taking a weekly or bi-weekly look at the meta game and kind of letting players know okay, so uh, Delver and Stompy have been seeing a pretty high level of play lately. Maybe think about kind of going over towards like a control build to kind of to bring them down a notch and give you like that competitive edge in a daily event.
Yep.
Yeah. So and then some of the other things that we'll be kind of going over are maybe changing people's mindsets on how to become like a grinder or how to go infinite on MTGO. Now, it's not really overly feasible. Not a lot of people can go infinite on MTGO, but kind of the better you are at daily events and the more that you can play, the easier it is to kind of mitigate the cost of playing. So you may not be able to play for free or get paid to play, but paying less to play, that's definitely a very serious perk to being a better player.
Yeah, and
I have a lot to say about the subject at a later stage.
Yeah,
because I am infinite at this point.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
and it's not like it's I don't know, getting to be infinite and then maintaining infinite status is definitely something that's a lot of players like to achieve for. So I think that's something that we'll be touching on a lot to kind of help people out with that idea.
Yeah, and what we're going to be
Absolutely, I
primarily
think it goes. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
so we're going to be primarily focusing on going infinite by playing in daily events, by playing Mythic. Dan, you're infinite by trading mostly, but a lot of us are not good traders or have the patience to be good traders. Some of us just want to play Magic and be infinite that way, and just always be able to play competitive Magic.
I think it's a deeper question that what you need to think about is what is your goal with playing Magic at all? What are you trying to accomplish? And for most of us, it will be winning and showing our intelligence in defeating other decks. And the infinite thing is just an inconvenience that you have to think about in order not to waste your entire life budget on Magic.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, going infinite is more or less like a byproduct of being a better player. Like if you're more focused in on winning, the going infinite and taking down daily events will just kind of come along with that, as long as you keep that mindset of that every game that you sit down to play, that you want to win that game, and eventually it leads to good things, so like cashing in the daily events and things like that.
Yes.
So another thing that we're going to kind of do is like deck techs. And deck techs are made pretty popular by Wizards of the Coast during their tournament coverage, where they like to bring up players that are playing in the current GP or Pro Tour and break down their decks, bring it up, look at the deck in like certain pieces or card by card, and kind of go over with the player why they decided to pick this card, why they decided to run that many of the card, and things like that. So there's always kind of everyone has like different versions of a deck, and like Chris, I don't know what version of Delver you play, but there's just two pretty popular versions out there: the Mimics deck and the who's the other player?
Mezzel.
Oh yeah, Mezzel. Yeah, Mezzel version of Delver, and we're gonna take a look at both of those. I'm sure sometime down the road, maybe even in the next episode. And I believe that Delver's a pretty simple deck when you look at it on paper, but as you start to play it and kind of see you're bouncing creatures here, you're putting in a ninja here, you gotta time out a spell sputter spite right at this point because you gotta kind of go for a tempo play here. There's a whole bunch of different things, and the deck winds up being a lot more complicated than you think.
Yeah, and that's true of most of the Pauper decks too. Is most of the Pauper decks have multiple angles of attack, and figuring out and identifying how those angles attack both pre-sideboard and post-sideboard is pretty important for learning a higher level competitive Pauper play.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big thing for almost all formats. So while we will be pretty much a Pauper focused podcast, you can the skills and like the insight that we'll be giving into Magic can kind of be applied in other areas. Maybe not so much into like standard, because that's more of a shifting, but like the eternal formats like Legacy and Modern and things like that might be a little bit easier to kind of judge.
Yeah.
There's one thing that is very unique to the Pauper metagame, and that is that many players, due to the low costs of the decks, have the ability to try out a lot of different decks. So you can play your opponent's deck a lot more and thus get a better feel for how they play, etc. Which is a skill that helps in any format.
Yeah, and it's also a lot more open to brewing, and that's why we get quite a few rogue decks that pop up for now and then, and they'll show up like Deluxikoff. He'll play elves for 3 or 4 days in a row, just completely blow out a daily event because nobody's ready for him, and then he'll stop playing it and move on to something else like Boros Kitty or things like that.
If he's playing elves, he's mainstream.
Yeah.
He's playing much weirder decks than that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he was the one that kind of like started to to kind of play Combo Elf, and then everyone was like, "Oh my god, Combo Elf is amazing! Let's everyone play it." And then he kind of moved into. He was like perfectly positioned. He was like, "This is this deck. I really like it. Here's great results with it. But I've also built another deck that beats that deck. So when you guys start playing that, I'll be ready to beat you with my own deck."
Yep.
And that's one of the that's the thing about Pauper is that the affordability allows players to almost grab like the entire collection, the entire catalog of the Pauper cards and brew with them and find interesting ways and of new ways to attack the metagame.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you guys got anything else that like you want to add to this before we kind of start closing this thing out?
Just contact information, I guess.
Yeah. So if Dan, you got nothing else left to kind of cover for us, you can find us.
Oh, that's yep.
You can find us on our website mtgostrat.com, mtgostrat.com. We do all kinds of different articles up on the website. Probably about 2 to 3 articles get posted a day, and that's pretty good, pretty interesting stuff put up there. Come check us out. You can check us out on our YouTube channel. That's primarily run by Dan. It's a Magic Gathering Strat. MAGICGATHERINGSTRAT. Be sure to come over. I'll put a link in the show notes below. Check us out on there. Make sure that you subscribe. You can also, right from there, check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on Twitter at the same name. You can also check me out on Twitter at MTGO Strat. You can check Chris out on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
C Weaver 8518.
Excellent. And then you can follow us on our streaming Twitch channel where Chris and Dan do quite a bit of work up on there.
Yep, and the Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Magic Gathering Strat.
Yep. Excellent. All right, guys. Well, that seems like a wrap. We'll post it up on the website for everyone to check out. And thanks for listening.
All right, sweet.
Sweet. Bye bye.